Well, I want to welcome everybody to another video here on Get Off My Chest. I do apologize for the length of time within videos, or between videos rather, um, as I have been particularly busy. But I've got a little more time, so hopefully I'll be able to put out some more videos in the days and weeks to come. I'm greatly looking forward to it. If you are watching these videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. That would be huge for me, so I do appreciate it. And we'll hope to continue to produce content. So, with that in mind, this year has not been a great year. I think most of us can acknowledge that. Particularly, it's not been a great year within Dallas sports. Um, it's been an okay year. We'll say that it's been an okay year in Dallas sports. They're obviously, we'll start with the big one. The Stars made the Stanley Cup final rather quietly. Obviously, there wasn't a whole lot going on at the time, but I mean, the Stars kind of unexpectedly rallied as a team and got through to the Stanley Cup finals. They ended up losing in 6 games to the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is obviously heart wrenching. But definitely good to see from the Stars. The Mavericks have um, are starting to blossom once again into a championship contender, which is at the forefront, particularly with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. That group is headed towards some very good things in the not too distant future, hopefully. Maybe a couple other years, maybe just kind of teetering, within the first and second round of the playoffs, they'll be able to make a legitimate push, hopefully within the next year or so. We'll see. But and the Aggies, my team, my college football team, has been phenomenal this year. They started off the season kind of sluggish. Obviously, their big win was against Florida, and they just kind of went through their schedule and are on the verge of potentially getting into the college football playoff. But I wanted to focus on two teams today in Dallas sports that has been the mastery of this, and we will call it embracing. You don't hear this saying a lot in this area of town. Embracing the art of the tank. Um, the Dallas Cowboys and the Texas Rangers both are in the midst of a rebuild, whether it just be one season, hopefully in the case of the Cowboys, or it'll be a while for the Rangers to build back up. Um, but as we'll see, the art of the tank is starting to blossom once again in Dallas sports. With the Cowboys, obviously, I predicted them to go like what 10-6 in one of my videos, win the NFC East. Obviously, I drank the Kool Aid because the Cowboys currently sit at 4-9 and are in third for the division behind the name redacted, the Washington football team, as they're now called, and the New York Giants. And then Philadelphia is behind Dallas. Dallas currently holds the, I believe it's the fourth or the sixth, fifth, kind of the fourth, fifth, sixth range pick in the draft. It's kind of what they had when they drafted Ezekiel Elliott a couple years ago. All that to say is this: the tank is alive and well in Dallas. Obviously, the win against Cincinnati didn't really help them out any in their pursuit of the tank, but I think that greater things in the pursuit of the tank are coming for the Cowboys. Potentially higher draft pick would be great. Obviously, I don't think that the Jets are going to win a game this year. The Bengals probably won't win another game this year. Most of the top three are set. But a fourth, fifth, or sixth round, or fourth, fifth, or sixth pick overall wouldn't be a bad thing for the Cowboys. They just need something to bolster, and then maybe sign some free agents in the offseason, finally, to bolster the secondary. Get some development there, and hopefully just kind of develop that group as they go forward. And we kind of have seen how a veteran has impacted the Cowboys. I mean, if you take a look at Amari Cooper, when before he came in, the Cowboys were like 3-5, and then after he came in, they lost one game. After that, after they signed him, they lost only one game, well, two technically, if you want to count the divisional round against the Rams. Um, And so the tank and free agent signings have brought some decent success to the Cowboys um, over the past couple of years, a few years or so. And hopefully that will continue should they pursue and succeed in the art of the tank. The Rangers obviously are also in that boat, but very more so. I now on the retrospect, looking in hindsight, 2016 success for the Rangers was not a good thing. They had their last chance at contention was 2015. You mean that was you still had some of the core of the early 2010s World Series roster intact. And Mitch Moreland was still a part of the team. You had well, obviously not Rude Netador. You had Elvis Andrews. You had Adrian Beltre. You had good pieces like Prince Fielder. You added on uh, Prince Fielder was hitting like he was back in kind of that era, the early 2010s and late 2000s. You had Rude Odor blossoming into a good hitter. Obviously, it's not what he is now, but he was a good hitter back then. Obviously, adding a big splash in Cole Hamels, that was another one to kind of bolster the pitching, which was back then kind of a strength of the team in some facets. Um, Developed into a stronghold, if you will. Josh Hamilton actually came back. Their last year of contention, I believe, was 2015. Obviously, that didn't work out the way that the Rangers wanted it to. But in 2016, they were strong. They didn't have a great schedule, but they were able to play through extremely well, and then got knocked out by Toronto in the divisional round. Got swept by Toronto in the divisional round, and they haven't made the playoffs since 2016. And I know it's only 2020; it's 4 years, but still, I think that had the Rangers decided to just blow it up in the offseason, that they would be much more progressed now, had or rather than what they are today. And that's not to say that the tank isn't going well for the Rangers. It is. They're making moves and getting prospects finally. They signed a new GM that's actually willing to do things in the offseason. So that's a big plus for the Rangers in that regard. But that'll obviously mean you lose some fan favorites. But things have to be sacrificed for the praise and glory of the tank. So if the Rangers can continue on this path, on the low end, it'll probably be another 2 seasons before they can actually contend. Um, they'll have prospects. Elvis Andrews probably will either become a free agent or will retire come 2023. Honestly, I think he'll be done by then. Rougned Odor hopefully will have his albatross of a contract removed, and he will be gone. So that will probably be the two biggest things that happen with the next 2 years. In that regard, obviously Lance Lynn is now traded. Mike Minor has been traded. Corey Kluber is a free agent again. So the Rangers are kind of again going to be looking at maybe a 70-win season, and that's not a bad thing. At this point, you just have to get through the tank. It looks bad now, right? The Rangers for a long time were the laughing stock of the league. Particularly from their start in 1972 up to about 1996 when they made the playoffs for the first time. And then after 1999, they didn't make the playoffs until their World Series run in 2010. So they're kind of, I think, in the midst of the third major rebuild that has been going on as a part of this Rangers organization. Do I see an ending for another 2 years? Probably not. Um, I think that they will start maybe contending for a World Series no later than 2024, maybe 2025, given that we are all still here by then. But all that to say is that they're hopefully with the art of the tank. I mean, you've seen how many how many teams have been able to build some form of success from it. Obviously, the most recent example was Philadelphia, the 76ers. Obviously, they tanked like no one has ever tanked before. And essentially, the process, as it was called, obviously it hasn't worked out the way they intended it to, but still, brought some level of playoff success to the 76ers organization that had been absent for quite some time. Another example would be the Cowboys of the 90s, right? They were awful when Tom Landry was fired. And then Jimmy Johnson went 1-15 in his first season. And then they trade Herschel Walker, and the 3 picks that they get turned out to be Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. And obviously that turned out fantastic for them. They got multiple Super Bowls out of that. So, embracing the art of the tank, speaking to my fellow Dallas sports fans here, particularly with the Cowboys and the Rangers, is this: we have to embrace the tank now. Because if we don't embrace the tank now, I don't think that it's going to get any better anytime soon. The sooner you tank, the sooner you get back on top. Obviously, the Cowboys hopefully will potentially be contenders for the next year or so. Obviously, injuries have plagued us, plagued our team through and through, and the Rangers have just been just straight trash. So, no pun intended, Houston fans. So, with that in mind, embracing the tank now will benefit the Cowboys and the Rangers in particular later on. The Mavericks and the Stars, honestly, I think, they won't be tanking for a while. As a matter of fact, they'll be rising towards championship contention and will continue to rise toward that, particularly the Mavericks. As I said earlier, Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis leading the charge. Hopefully, they'll be able to stick with each other for a while and get a ring out of it. That would be great. Just kind of adding on to this, underdog mentality that the Mavericks have. They will be able to use that to their advantage and potentially, get to the status of one of the big dogs in the NBA. So it'll be interesting. In the Stars, you're kind of hard to get a beat on, right? And that's a good thing about them is that they're they're inconsistent in forming expectation. And with that in mind, the Stars are obviously they're one of the more sleeper teams in the NHL, and they have been for the last few years. Obviously, this year they proved that. And I think that A&M might get cheaped out of the college football playoff. I don't know. All that to say is that for the Cowboys and the Rangers, embracing the art of the tank is crucial, and it has to be done now. Because if it's not done now, we will not be able to succeed when we want to in the future, when we have the opportunities to do so in the future, because we'll still be in a rebuild. And we don't want that. We would rather be in pain now and have glory later than now in pain later. And it really doesn't change anything. So hopefully that the Cowboys and the Rangers ownership, Jerry Jones, John Daniels, I'm looking at you two in particular. Jerry Jones and John Daniels will, be visited by three spirits this Christmas, and they'll have a change of heart, and they'll start turning things around. But we'll see how it goes. So with that in mind, I do want to thank you again for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. God bless.